Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Logistics Lager Lounge. And my guest today is Bridie Halloran. Thanks for joining us today, Bridie.
Hi.
Good, thank you. I really appreciate it. So maybe we'll start off. Tell us about how your career has developed and what got you into logistics.
Okay. So interestingly, it wasn't a career path that I realised I was choosing at the time. But I saw a job advertised in the paper, so that's how long ago it was. And when I read the job description, I just thought, I really fancy that. So it was an international coordinator. It was for Target Express. And when I read it, I just thought, that just sounds really interesting. I really think, and I don't know why I thought I could do it. Because it's not like I knew lots about geography, but I had done sales. So, when I seen that it needed sales, I'd done door-to-door selling of double glazing. So I was FA with selling. I just wasn't FA with logistics. And I went in and I loved it from day one. From day one, I absolutely loved it, and it was, every day was different. And I think that's what was great about it. And every day you were helping someone achieve something. So, and it was really good. So, yeah. And then obviously I went up through the ranks. So I then became a sales exec. I was a bit of a guinea pig for Target Express because they'd never had an indoor go outdoor. And they, and they were very open about that, but they were really good. They kept my job open for me just in case I didn't like it. But again, loved it. 9 months after that, I was sales manager. And then it just went from there. I was with Target for 11 years in total. I then went and worked for Parcel Force, which I did 7 years at Parcel Force. And that was very different to what I was doing at Target. So although it was all sales, with Target, it was very much a farmer and a hunter role. Whereas, and I think I very quickly identified the sales side of things was what I loved most. So when I went over to Parcel Force, that was purely a hunter role. And it was quite a lone role as well. So it was my first job away, like that you work from home. So, you had to be quite rigid in what you were doing. Amazing. And I just felt that it was such a great career move. And actually, made me realize that actually the reason I love selling so much was because it was definitely my forte. So yeah, and I continued doing that. So I did that for 7 years. I then sort of branched out doing a corporate role, but more along the international side. So I worked for FedEx cross border. Again, it was really good to get back into the international because it was always quite key to me. I loved international because it was just ever changing. And then I went into the pallet world, which was very new to me. So I was in the pallet world. I've probably been in the pallet world now for about 2.5 years. But last year I decided, or actually just over a year ago, to start my own business. And I'm now a sales consultant working for lots of different people. So, yeah, and I've just started employing 2 sales.
Oh, well done. Well done. It's funny how it goes round and full circle.
That's me, 25 years later.
Yeah. And what skills do you think are the most valuable or critical for success? Listening.
I learned very early on in sales, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And I think the biggest skill you can have, regardless of what role you take in logistics, listening is key. Listening to your drivers, listening to your staff, listening to your customers. It's key. So I think that's probably the biggest skill that I think I've needed to succeed.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, and you're right. And I didn't want to interrupt you then, almost, because you said listening, and I was sort of automatically started listening. It's funny how these things do. And, and during your career, what has been your most, rewarding project that you've done?
So I think so. I've got lots. Obviously, there's lots of things that have been rewarding, and obviously starting my own business has been phenomenal. You know, I think what's been great about it is the fact that it's not only worked, but I've realized I love it. And actually I'm so trusted, you know, to anybody I do speak to, I've realized how trusted I am. And I've built that up over the years. So I think that's been amazing. But I think if I was to think of one particular thing that I did in my career that was greatly rewarding, it was giving somebody the opportunity to do a customer service role when they had never done any role, even similar. You know, they were, I think he was 21 years old at the time, and he'd had jobs, but he'd never done customer services. But I read on his CV how he'd built this youth centre in a place called St. Paul's in Bristol, which was quite a rundown area. And I just thought, for somebody that young to do something that amazing, and when he talked about it, he was so passionate, and it was something that was drilled into us at Target. You have to be passionate about everything you do. And I just thought that this guy is the right guy. And he came in, and I suppose I took him under my wing, and he's now got his own business, and actually watch him flourish. And every now and again, he'll message me and say what a great impact I had on his life. And I just think, you just can't buy that. You know, I just think that's amazing that you've actually had an effect on someone and been rewarded back just by them doing so well. So yeah. So sorry, there was two things there.
Yeah, but no, it's good when you influence people and you help people, and people help us all. You know, we have other, you know, friends, you know, colleagues, you know, clients or relationship. People help you along on that journey of life, isn't it? You know, it's easy to think we did it all, but really, and it goes back to our parents. Everyone has an influence on us and changes us for the future. You know, so that's really good. Yeah. And when you look at the industry, what do you think the biggest challenges are for the logistics industry and what it's facing right now?
So I think the biggest thing it's facing right now is the lack of HGV drivers. I think, you know, they think it's going to be a shortage of 40,000, but actually it's probably going to be nearer 60,000. And I think that is, I think if we need to be not even just a country, but we need to be a world to actually see how important logistics is, you know, because there's not a single sector that could run without logistics. You know, hospitals, doctors, food, you know, everything is needing logistics. And I think it's a massive problem. And I think if we don't start seeing logistics as an emergency service as such, so a priority, and making them a priority, and encouraging people, you know, your average age of a driver is between sort of 52 and 55. So you're talking, what, another 10 years? They're all going to be moving on, and you just haven't got that many people coming in. And I think we need to make it attractive. We need to, for want of a better word, sexy. You know, we need people to want a career in logistics and drive in and make it attractive to younger people, because we're going to be in trouble. You know, we are going to be in trouble, and it's all right having all these, you know, you're going to have driverless vans and driverless pods, you know, that they're doing, but that still won't work. You're still always going to need HGV drivers. You know, I don't see anytime soon an autonomous truck running down the road. So, well, I'd like to think not.
With a beer in my hand, I definitely do not want to see that. Not when they can weigh 35 tons or so. So,
yeah. I just think that the government really needs to look at this and look at it serious. You know, because we've got to do something about it. And certainly as companies, you know, I'm talking to my members, you know, and the members that I'm working with, and certainly they are doing, you know, all sorts of incentives, you know, to keep drivers and to look after them, because, you know, it's important.
Well, it's probably critical, isn't it, for you know, for UK PLC, as you described, it does everything, you know, we touch, consume. There's probably been on a pallet at some point, isn't it? And certainly in a trailer or an aircraft, you know, at some point. So yeah, we're absolutely relying on it. And during your career, have you had any sort of key mentors or influencers over your career?
Yeah. Can I say their name?
Well, you can. Yeah. Of course you can. Yeah.
So I would say Stuart Godman's probably been my mentor over the years. I think, you know, certainly early on, he made himself so approachable. You know, he was the one who said, you know, you're going to be the guinea pig. But although it sounded like pressure because you're the guinea pig, you're the first one to do this, he was also very supportive in, if you don't like it, it's fine too, you know, but I want to give you a go. If you want to give it a go, you know, we actually all want to give it a go. And he was so instrumental in bringing me to the level that I got. And ironically, so instrumental in me starting my own business along with yourself as well, you know, as you know. And I think, you know, he's always been a massive part of my career, although I've not worked for him throughout the years. You know, obviously, you know, I did the 11 years at Target. I've always kept in contact with him, and I've always looked up to him and asked his advice when I've been thinking about making changes, you know. So, and actually, I just think we come from the same cloth. I think we're both cut from the same cloth. And I think that's why I, you know, look up to him so much, because, you know, he is so self-made and so diligent. He makes you want to do a good job for him, you know, or do a good job for yourself. It doesn't even have to be for him. And that's been a massive part of my career.
Good. And it'll give him a big head if and when he hears it. But you know,
if he doesn't hear it, I'm going to tell him off.
but we all have people around us that guide us, support us in all sorts of ways, both in the family environment and through business, and even customers that sometimes look out for you as well. So
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, you know, John Green was a massive part of my career, you know, because he showed me trust at a level that I'd never had, which was amazing. You know, Helen Wild was another, you know, great mentor. You know, she was someone that I felt comfortable going to. And I think that's what's key about anybody who mentors you or who's your boss, or even, you know, ahead of your line manager. It's actually knowing they're approachable and you can go to them and ask advice. And you know, one of the things Stuart said to me very, very early on, when I started the sales exec role, and I think he did regret it after, to be fair, was there's no such thing as a stupid question. And he realized that actually I could find one.
Oh, fantastic. Good. All right. Well, that's a lovely way to end it, Bridie. But I just want to say thank you so much and thanks for your time. And yeah, I'm sure our viewers and listeners will really enjoy it. Thank you very much.